What's up, everyone? I'm Jared Harris, and this is Beats by Ger, now live in Technicolor. Just over a year ago, I started this podcasting journey, and I couldn't be more excited to be kicking off season 2 with the first ever filmed episode, something which I hope to do much more of as we move forward. With that, Beats by Ger is now available for the first time on YouTube. If you've been with me since last July, a massive thank you for listening, and if you've checked out all 28 of the previous episodes, up until now, your support is invaluable, and I cannot express the appreciation I have for you as you continue to join me on this journey. I would like to take a moment to thank the Sound Rehearsal Studios for providing this incredible space. I've been coming to the Sound weekly for almost the last decade with One in the Chamber. They have 7 fully equipped practice studios readily available with a fantastic team managing the entire thing. And as of recently, they have opened up this back space for all of your video content needs, whether that be music videos, podcasts, whatever. Today not only marks the season 2 premiere, but it will also be the first episode of Classic Albums With. I wish this ongoing series had a snappier name, but it doesn't yet. Classic Albums With will see me be joined by a guest as we discuss a predetermined classic record. Today, my guests and I we'll be discussing Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 with the goal of creating the superior single album version. I'm excited today to be joined by not one, but 2 very close friends of mine. The first is John Wiskin, with whom on numerous occasions I've had this exact conversation with, and who said that this should be an episode on the podcast, and John was absolutely correct. And the second is none other than singer, guitarist, songwriter, and all-around great guy, Mike Biase of One in the Chamber. So, let's begin. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were released on September 17th, 1991 as 2 separate albums. Not quite a double album, but a double album. This was the follow-up to 1987's Appetite for Destruction, arguably one of the greatest debut albums of all time. By this point, the original classic Guns N' Roses lineup was splintering. Original drummer Steven Adler would appear just on one song, and the rest of the album seeing Matt Sorum fill in behind the kit. Original rhythm guitarist Izzy Stradlin was absolutely instrumental in writing this record, but appears only on a handful of tracks, as he would depart before the record was completed. Guns N' Roses at this point were the biggest band in the world. The stakes, the anticipation, the band, everything was high. It's snappy. It's snappy.
I like it. Yeah, that was good.
So let's talk about these records. What do we think about them?
Like, the one thing that comes up to me is I always remember Slash sort of saying, like, he wanted to bury Appetite. And you guys are in the bands. I'm just a mediocre guitar player that plays in my basement. Like, I don't know how difficult it is to, like, follow up previous successes that you've had, but to write an album like this that's so complex. Some people would say it's chaotic. Some would say it's just a giant mess. But to me, it's like a masterpiece. And like, I don't know how they did it, but to me, it's just a phenomenally good album. Like, the highs, I think, are just as high as Appetite. The lows are kind of low, as we'll get to. But overall, like, I think Slash and the band did what they set out to. They kind of buried Appetite and showed they were more than just sort of a straight up hard rock band. But that to me is overall I'm thinking about the album.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's massively underrated. I think that both of them are awesome albums. And if Guns N' Roses is Appetite, this is like Guns N' Roses kind of, like you said, departing from that. Yeah. They still have the highs of Appetite on a couple of the songs, but it's such a difference in the songwriting I found for Use Your Illusion. 1 and 2. There's such a wide range of styles and genres and I think influences. And I think it's massively underrated.
Yeah, and one thing, like when Jared said we were going to do the episode, when I went back and sort of re-listened to it, I respected them more for just trying new things, especially in like having 2 daughters myself. One of them is just a huge Taylor Swift fan, which I absolutely hate. But it's because I know where all the songs are going before I even listen to it. I'm like, it's 45 seconds. We're going to get to a chorus. Everything is the same structure. It's like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. And there's just so many like I don't know, some songs Slash has like 4 guitar solos in there. Like some start with bass, some are like, there's like a funk song. I don't think it hits very well, but like they're playing funk, they're playing hard rock, they've got acoustic, they've got, there's a sitar in one of them too. Like it has everything. And I give them respect for trying stuff. Again, it's not all of it hits. Like I said, the floors I think are pretty low in some respects, but like at least they tried. Versus some bands these days that just recycle the same thing over and over again.
You said chaotic, and that is exactly how I would have described it, because I love and not hate, but I love and don't love these albums. And coming back to these records for the purpose of analyzing, listening, and prepping for this interview, I have to agree. There's like a lot of risk taking. There's a lot of structures of songs that are like so bizarre, right? Like numerous solos, weird, like halfway through the song, the song shifts entirely. And I don't think it all lands all the time, but I think that there's a lot of like risk taking, a lot of ambition behind the record that I think previously I had just overlooked because I was like, you know what, this isn't Appetite, which is, you know, it's kind of a good thing that it's not Appetite. Like if that was the goal, they moved away from it.
Yeah, and I think like again, going back to sort of the record and just re-listening, like I don't know why it's more like, or why it's sort of underappreciated in that way. Again, I just think it stands up there with Appetite. So I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but well, we can move on. But that's
Is that one on your list?
I will say though, I
almost
think,
made it. Almost made it. I did try to throw in a little gist there. Yeah,
there you go.
Almost made it.
I do think that some of the singles get their due. Like I think people, you know, recognize some of the ones that are the highs, and I think that they get played maybe a little bit too often. But like when I first heard this album, it was back in the time of iPods, and I was very much, I pick all the songs I like and put them in a playlist and listen to those. So I had to go back and actually listen to the whole albums when we were doing this. But I mean, I do think that you're right. The highs kind of hit really well.
Yeah, the highs are fantastic. I do think though there is a lot of filler.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like I feel like Appetite is so essential. I would say that there is no skipping songs on Appetite front to back.
Maybe Anything Goes, but other than that,
Maybe.
but yeah, that is all killer, no filler.
But there's a lot of songs that normally I do skip. Now I've got more of an appreciation for some of these songs now, but I would still say like this is.
Well, the first album's what, 16 songs, isn't it?
12.
Is it only 12?
12.
Feels like it's 16 songs.
Yeah.
It feels long. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like there's definitely a lot of filler.
2 albums. It's a lot. Thoughts on the lineup changes?
Like I don't know, are you guys too young to watch A&E's biography? Do you guys remember that?
I was
shit?
thinking the VH1 behind the curtain
classic.
or behind the music.
I can't. Yeah. I just remember, like I was watching it because I didn't really get into gun. Like I remember I bought Appetite for Destruction when I was about 15 or 16, but never really hit. I'm like, it's a really cool album. But then I remember watching like A&E's biography, and the one line that I remember is Steven Adler in his raspy, drug-addicted voice being like, "They're kicking me out of the band for doing drugs," and I'm just like, and I just love that line because I'm just like. And then when you read like Duff's autobiography, that was dark as hell. Or like, I'm like, how did these guys even survive like that many years to make that much music? Because it was just so like, I feel like the lineup change had to happen, but I don't know. I always assumed like when you make like sort of a phenomenally great record like that, you can't be a normal person.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can't like, there can't be balance in your life. Like, I don't know, but there was something about like it made something great, but it's like, I can't remember what's that line, like the brightest flames burn out the fastest or something like that. I don't know, but like, yeah, the lineup change had to happen.
It's better to burn out than fade away.
Or something like that. But then you said, Steven Adler was only on like Civil War, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they break that up from like 60 drum tracks? He was just so high.
Yeah.
They had to put like 60 tracks together to actually get the drums.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
That's
I
crazy.
don't know, something like that. So I'm like, yeah, it had to happen. Although Izzy was a big loss.
I think Izzy was the biggest loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at the credits on this album, he is so like he's like one of the most consistent next to Axl of the people listed as songwriters, and I would say that him and Slash are like one of the greatest guitar duos ever.
Yeah.
Are they better than Woods and Richards?
I think so.
Yeah.
Jared, you're saying that.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
You
I
love
would
Rolling
say,
Stones.
yeah. Now, if you ask me if they're better than Richards and Mick Taylor, Sticky Fingers is hard to compete with, but I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I would say the chemistry though between Izzy and Slash is very missed on this record.
Yeah.
But he did record a lot of it, didn't he?
Izzy?
I thought
I
Izzy
think he was
rec-
only
I
on a
thought-
couple songs.
Really? I thought he
Yeah.
wrote a couple songs, but wasn't he there for the recording?
Not all of it. No.
Oh, okay.
No. He departed, I think, like halfway through, something like that.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, Jared, what do you want to ask next?
I don't know. What do we got? I think the album is larger than life. I think you're right. Like 2 records instead of 1. But
Yeah.
why do we think, like, let's get into some speculative
Speculation.
why do we think this was released as 2 separate albums as opposed to just one massive double album?
I don't know. I always assumed aren't 2 albums cheaper? I've never recorded an album. I've never made one, but if you make like 2 albums instead of one giant, it would be like a quadruple album. Wouldn't it be cheaper?
See, I was thinking it was more whether it's cheaper or not. People now have to buy 2 albums, and you could price them higher, and it's 2 different collectibles that people have to have. I have no idea though.
I guess so.
I just think it's cool. Like, who releases 2? Like, if you release a double album, that's probably pretty big. But
Yeah.
2 double albums on the same day, that's never been done.
Well, something like this. How many records were in the album? Was it just 1 record for the 12 songs on Use Your Illusion 1?
They're pretty long. So, like, are we talking vinyl?
Yeah.
They're pretty long, so I would assume that Use Your
2.
Illusion 1 would be 2.
I think both were 2 double albums.
Yeah,
So
they
that
would
could be maybe why,
like, they would be
too,
4 sides, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd probably get close to 20 to 30 minutes per side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to assume some of it's got to be marketing too.
Yeah.
If you have 2 different albums that people have to buy.
I mean-
I think they were both released on the same day though. weren't
Same
they?
day. Yeah,
so-
same day.
Yeah.
They Use Your Illusion 1 went number 2 in America. It was 7 times platinum, whereas Use Your Illusion 2 went number 1 in America, also 7 times platinum. They occupied the 1 and 2 spots. That's like doing the digging. That was the only thing that I was like, maybe they wanted to have like 1 and 2 on the charts. I think it's like a too big to fail kind of attitude.
Do you know who made that decision though? Was it
No,
the label or was it the
no?
band?
I don't know. I want to say it's Axl. Like they were like at a point in their career where they were so big that like I think a large part of the ambition behind the songwriting, behind what we were talking about, I think a lot of that comes from Axl, right? Like November Rain, like that is like he was writing that in the Appetite days. Like they were like living in their rehearsal space, couldn't afford to make a song that way, and there's Axl writing like a symphony. So I want to say that it was Axl that was like, we're going to release 2 separate albums on the same day just to have that 1 and 2 spot.
I think for its simplest, like in its simplest way too, they probably just they obviously had the material to do it. So why not?
Yeah.
In the sense, because like, yeah, even like November Rain, I know was written in the Appetite days. The first song they wrote was Don't Cry.
Don't
I
They
believe.
recorded during Appetite, didn't they?
think
Did I
so.
read that somewhere?
Don't Cry. I wouldn't be
Some of them are
surprised.
from that time. I don't know if Don't Cry was or wasn't.
No?
But some of them are.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was one of the ones that I read that they had actually recorded during the Appetite sessions.
Yeah, so it's like if you have it, why not? And maybe there is like an underlying feeling, like how long can this last?
Yeah.
Like why not just get all this material out while we can? Because like they pretty much hated each other at like when the album was released, and somehow they go on a 2.5-year world tour, managed to not kill each other, and then so to me it's almost like let's just get all this material out right now.
It's interesting if Don't Cry was recorded during the Appetite sessions. Appetite is relatively, unless you count Sweet Child of Mine as a ballad, like it's a ballad-free.
I was gonna say, yeah, it doesn't
hard
really
rock
fit
album.
the theme of Appetite.
No, you could. Well, I mean, you could say it doesn't fit, or you could say that like a ballad would be a necessary, almost palate cleanser somewhere in there. I would say, like,
I suppose,
the
but I
album
think, like you
doesn't
said,
need
all
it,
killer,
but-
no filler, but it's also extremely hard hitting.
Yeah.
And when you have something like that, I mean, you put your mark on the rock scene when you release an album like that.
Technically, My Michelle's a ballad, but that is a dark song.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Is that
that a
really
ballad?
I don't know. It's kind of. It's almost
It's
like
pretty
it
heavy.
has the same thing. There's a nice like slow intro over there. Like a nice
suppose.
ballad, yeah.
If you're going classic 80s ballads,
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess so. Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about this record before we? get
One
into
thing
our
going
notes,
back
or-
to like the documentaries you were talking about, I think it was Matt Sorum, but I remember one of their drummers making a comment during it saying like, I joined this band to play with Guns N' Roses and now they're bringing out pianos on stage and we're playing ballads and this is not what I expected.
Yeah.
And I think that was the feeling for a lot of the people that they played with on tour. And at least from a little bit of what I read and then from that documentary that I heard, and just the feeling that it was no longer the same kind of Guns N' Roses going forward, which I guess is what they were looking for. But it really, I mean, how do you follow up Appetite? You know?
Yeah. Or even then, some other stories that just sort of pop into mind. There's like a radio DJ, I think it was in the same documentary, in the Estranged music video, when Axl jumps off the aircraft carrier or whatever and swims with dolphins. He's like, I don't know if this is Guns N' Roses anymore.
Yeah.
You know? or a cool story. Or even, again, how talented these guys are. Slash was saying he did like all for 30 songs. He did all the basic tracks, 36 days. He's like, he recorded it, he did his guitar parts, did the solos, 36 days. And he said the longest parts were adding like Dizzy Reed, the symphonies, like all the orchestral stuff. He's like, that took months, but he's like, stripped down, the album took like 6 weeks to record.
See, that's wild because I just saw Matt Sorum posted in a Instagram post about how the record plant or that studio that they used was closing down. He was saying, like, it was like yesterday he shared this. He was saying that in between takes for this album, they were also making the Spaghetti Incident in the same sessions.
Really?
Yeah, which I had no idea. Like, at the same time as making these two massive albums, they were just recording a ton of covers together. Probably because, like, Axl was working with Dizzy and the symphonies and everything else that had to go into the arrangements.
Okay, I gotta ask, since Spaghetti Incident came up, why would they put, if they were recording them at the same time too, why is there a cover on this album?
There's two covers.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know.
Like, if they're recording them at the same time and they already have all of these songs together, like, why? I don't know.
I don't know.
I love them, but why?
Who knows?
Where's the insight?
I don't know.
Help me out here.
It's a weird choice. I think it's weird to put a pair of covers onto, especially like a statement album like this. It's so big, like, and you have so much material. Like, you could have cut those two songs and not need to fill those spaces either, right? I don't know. Maybe it's Axl trying to put himself in line with the likes of Paul McCartney, with the likes of Bob Dylan, right? Paul McCartney in the sense that he's making these massive arrangements, these arrangements that are using more than just guitar, bass, drums, vocals, but pianos, symphonies, strings, backing singers. Bob Dylan with just the idea of the poetics of it all, which when we talk about my list, like, I want to get into a bit because, like, I've never really paid much attention to the lyrics on this record. There's a lot from Axl on this album that is, like, pretty profound, I would say. And I mean, maybe just putting those two influences on there was his way of kind of like trying to connect the two dots to what they're doing now.
I think that's a big theme, at least from what I saw throughout both albums, is this is the one, as opposed to Appetite, where they're not only giving us some of the Guns N' Roses songs, like Appetite style, but they're pulling in from all of their heroes and maybe even peers and kind of writing in their styles a lot too. I found that throughout the whole thing.
It fits more with 70s rock.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Guns N' Roses was always outside of that, like, 80s hard rock scene. Like, they were a product of that time, right? They were a band of that time. The production is there, but they were more in tune with 70s blues rock, with punk rock. They didn't quite fit that mold, right?
Like the glam metal.
Yeah, no, they were like completely outside of that. You know, they were kind of in the wake of Motley Crue, but then, you know, took it back even further to what was.
Although they did have the
Motley
hair.
Crue. They did, absolutely, yeah.
Slash did try out for Poison.
Yeah,
he did.
I didn't know that.
And then apparently he tries out, and then CC DeVille walks in. He's like, okay, that guy got the job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think some of those covers too, they've been playing for a while. Like Live at the Ritz had Knockin' on Heaven's Door. That was killer. Jumpin' Jack Flash, they've done before in their early sets. Which that would have been a cool addition to the album. Get My World out of there, put Jumpin' Jack Flash in.
Yeah,
Very solid.
Okay, yeah. Do we want to get into the list? Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
I'm trying to think of any other like random stories. So I always wonder like the songwriting process, because again, me not being any type of musician, like I'm like, where do they get these inspirations for these songs? Like, because I know Pretty Tied Up, which is one of my favorite stories. Izzy goes to like this party in downtown. He just like downtown LA or whatever, goes up to an apartment. There's this girl naked, tied up to a bed with a ball in her mouth, just getting spanked with a thing. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he goes back home and he writes like Pretty Tied Up about just this weird dominatrix thing he walks into. I'm like how do you...
Inspiration comes from a lot of
I know,
places.
but I'm just like, where do you, like, again, to have such, like we were saying, it's so chaotic, to have such a breadth of inspiration. Like, Axl clearly hates women. You know, it's just like, we can get, he's like the anti-Taylor Swift kind of thing. He's just like very angry when you're writing songs like...
I feel like we got a little bit of that in Appetite though, too.
Yeah. That's true. But Back Off Bitch is very...
Well,
he says bitch a lot on this record.
He does.
Like,
That is
a
lyrics.
lot.
He
It's
calls his
kind of
mom a cunt, which is lyrics.
Yeah.
Hilarious lyrics.
Yeah. I think you're the second person to drop that word on this podcast. So.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Were you the first?
No.
okay.
No.
Oh, who was the first?
Alex Southey on the last
Oh,
episode.
yeah. I was
recited
a
Liz
that then.
Phair lyric.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he just didn't call you a cunt?
No.
Oh, okay, there
no.
we go, fair
But
enough.
now you hold the record for most.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay,
there you
we
go. All right.
There we go. But yeah, like I don't know, from a musician standpoint, like where do you think they get such? Because again, everyone has like, I think again probably they have so much material because everyone's part of the songwriting process. Everyone's like Duff is writing, like I don't know if Adler wrote, but I know Izzy was writing, Slash was writing, Axl's writing. So that probably gives, instead of having like one songwriter, like I don't know, Led Zeppelin had Jimmy Page pretty much. Like, does that contribute to like how chaotic an album would be? How you'd have so much material?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only say that from a one in the chamber standpoint.
Yeah,
like
but
our
that's-
first album was much more collaborative, and then in terms of like we kind of came in with ideas and then wrote, and the sound of that one from the second one to me is very different.
Sure, yeah, I'd agree with that, right?
So
like,
I think that when you have that many people writing,
Yeah.
it gives you so many different ideas. Now it's different than when you have like 16 people wearing suits in a room writing songs for a pop star, as
you get
opposed to
ChatGPT.
well, there you go, yeah. But when you have like 5 people who are all hammered out of their minds and destroyed every single day writing music, then it comes in with some different
I heard they
ideas.
were writing like stuff on pizza boxes whenever like some flash of
that
inspiration
Does
came
not
up.
surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, I've got napkins and stuff that we've written stuff on.
Yeah.
There was a coaster in a restaurant that has some Sharpie on it that I
Oh,
still
yeah?
have. Oh yeah, we write on whatever you can
That's
get.
so cool though. Like whenever an idea hits, like that creative process, and then to bring it all together, I'm like, I'd love to know the story behind all the songs.
Yeah.
Or the majority of them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay. So I want to start off with like their list, their top 10 in order of what would make the best single album version.
In order, okay.
Not order of favorites, but order of like what makes the best album flow, the best track listing of
John,
Okay.
wanna kick
I'll kick us off here with the definitive list.
the definitive.
Okay,
Definitive
okay.
list right here.
Definitive
I got my reasons.
I like
too.
the confidence.
I do. Okay, so every album you got to start off with a banger. This is actually my number 2 favorite song on the album. Don't Damn Me. There's no way that can't not make that should be on both of your lists too.
It's not on my list.
Because you don't know what you're talking about, Jared. Which is kind of weird because like I bet it's not on your list either.
It's not on my list.
Okay, so this is why mine is definitive here. That's why mine is definitive. But like to me, I don't know if they wrote like 4 punk songs, but like Don't Damn Me, Perfect Crime, Garden of Eden, Right Next Door to Hell. They're all, to me, it's like the song starts, Axl sings, the song ends. Like there's no room for anything else. But all the other songs are to me just a muddled mess. But Don't Damn Me, that guitar riff is just so good. And I was just, every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh man, this from start to finish, that's the album starter. Which then, okay, this is probably on your list, but only made number 9 as I rank them. You Could Be Mine. You gotta love playing the drums on that,
Oh
Jared.
yeah. That one made my list. I'm shocked that's number 9. I would say that's like on these albums, like that's
Yeah.
probably in my top 5, but
Yeah.
maybe top
Yeah,
3
I would
of
say so.
these
That's
2
one of the ones that I
albums.
think would be on everybody's
Yeah,
list.
it's gotta be.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love Terminator in the music video?
Absolutely.
I know. So
Absolutely.
good. So good. So I'd start with that. Then I bring it down. So again, I don't think this made anybody's list, but I absolutely love the song Yesterdays.
Yep, that's on my list.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that didn't make mine.
It's
no.
it's
No?
like,
Oh.
No.
really?
That was a close one. That
Okay, that was a
one
close
for me.
To me, it's
I
like,
make notes on this now too.
and there we go. It's like a nostalgic version of Fall to Pieces, classic like D G whatever / arpeggio, and I just love the lyrics. Like hands in my pockets, no hands in destiny. Just like this guy walking around looking at the past. I'm like, speaking of lyrics, I'm like, I wonder maybe is like Axl nostalgic for some of the earlier days or something. I don't know, but great
I think that's
song.
a running theme on this album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Like Fame getting to him, and the guitar solos too, masterclass. I love that one. And okay, yeah, this is where I told you I had to make a decision. This is my number 10 song.
This is the decision you're
This is
making on the fly
Yes,
right now.
I didn't know because I was listening to these 2 on the way here, and I feel like I got to put Bad Obsession in there. I'm kicking Estranged off the list.
Oh,
That was my number 10.
Oh, that is a play.
That was a big play. Bad Obsession is
it
just
made my
so,
list too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Estranged or Bad Obsession?
Bad Obsession.
It's so good.
Yeah.
For like a blues song, everybody's like
That was a close one for me.
that was a close one for you
Close
too.
one, yeah.
It's just like because everybody when they think of like Guns N' Roses and blues, they're all like Mr. Brownstone. It's like their definitive blues song, very bluesy riff. But I don't know, Bad Obsession, and this is gonna make me sound weird. It's like the hot cousin of Mr. Brownstone, where you're just like,
Honestly, that song's probably one of my top 5 on the album.
Really?
I gotta
it's
say,
so
it's
good.
so good,
And it came up on the re-listen.
yeah,
I was just like, how did I not like this song before? It is so good. so it's just the groove. I think that's an Izzy song too.
Okay, since we're getting into it, I mean, to me, this is them writing an Aerosmith song.
Yeah.
There's so much behind it. There's the harmonica that comes in, the kind of like honky tonky style of the song too.
You got the piano in the background.
It's such an Aerosmith song, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, "This is."
So you mentioned that to me last week, and I started hearing that. I've never made I know they love Aerosmith. I know Slash loves Aerosmith, but I never made that connection. Like, this is.
I think you could plug
Aerosmith,
Steven Tyler singing this song, same lyrics, and nobody would think it's not an Aerosmith song. I think it's super, it's one of my favorite songs on the album for sure.
And again, I want to know where the lyrics come from, because they're just so, and it kind of has like a Mama Kin kind of feel for it. It's like you listen to it and you got to have a shower after. But it's true though. It's just like the chorus of I can't stop thinking about you one more time, and then it changes. I just can't stop thinking about doing it one more time. And just like where do they get these lyrics? Because again, in Don't Cry, it's like an emotional ballad of just like, oh, don't cry, everything's gonna be okay. And he's like, yeah, I just want to bang you one more time. It's just so where do they get these ideas from? And who are these people they're writing about? But yes, Bad Obsession. Okay, although I feel sad that Estranged is off the list, but
that's okay. Estranged makes my list. Don't worry. We'll talk about it.
Okay, I'll save some stuff for that. And then I wind down side one of the 5 songs with Dust and Bones. Great song.
Okay.
Great song.
That is the exact spot it's on my list.
Interesting. Okay.
There we
Didn't
go.
make my list.
There we go.
Oh, no?
I figured it was a great way to end album 1. Yeah.
I would say that's a top 3 for me on this.
Really?
Dust
Okay.
and Bones.
Fair
Oh
enough.
my gosh.
Made my night. It's number 5.
I think we're gonna
number
have very
5 for me.
different lists.
That's good. That's good. Okay, and then I start side 2. This is my favorite. It's not the best song on the album, but it is my absolute favorite song on the album. Breakdown.
Really?
It's got a banjo. It's got an acoustic thing. You think you're sitting around a campfire. Then it rocks out. Then it's got a slash soul. And for some reason, there's a 1-minute outro of silence. I don't know why. I just absolutely love this song. Again, it was on the re-listens over the last couple of weeks. I was like, this is definitely going to make my list. But no, this is my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
It is so...
Really?
Yeah, again, structurally, it's not the best song. It's not the greatest, but I just love it. Every time it's on, it's cranked up there.
Well, you're trying to hear what's in that minute of silence there.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's so good. So good. Then I go to Pretty Tied Up, because that is classic Izzy song right there. And then, again, just like on side 1, I'll bring it down in the middle, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yeah, classic.
Okay.
Yeah, great song.
Great cover.
And then the last 2 are probably not my favorite songs, but probably the 2 best songs that they wrote. Civil War and then November Rain to end it down. I mean, that's got to be on everybody's. I think Civil War is arguably structurally and it's the most interesting song on the album. It's like nice acoustic intro, cool pre-chorus, cool outro, solo, and they just repeat Slash just solos over everything. This is so good. So I think that's the best song, but not my favorite. It only made number 6 of my favorite songs.
Did you have Don't Cry on your list?
Comes in at
it
number
came
14
up,
or 15.
okay.
I do like the solos. It moved up a little bit, but no.
Interesting. Okay.
It never definitive. I was never going to put it on there. It's in my mid ranking.
Okay, interesting.
It's in my mid ranking.
So you just ranked all the songs?
Well, no, because at first when I thought we were going to do this thing, I thought we'd rank them 1 to 10, and then Jared was like, make an album out of it. It's like, okay, so I did. I kept the rankings.
Smart.
And then I just made a mid list, and then I was just like, crap, songs I don't like.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
So, which again is right next door to Hell, Garden of Eden. Oh, Shotgun Blues, another random.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just again,
That one doesn't make the cut.
it's just Get in the Ring.
Yeah.
Just,
No.
what is that?
See, that one made my list.
Again,
Oh man, it's such a
are you serious?
Oh yeah,
No, you're not.
On. Yeah.
The song is terrible.
Oh, it's a great song.
No, it's not.
Me?
It
Oh, it's
absolutely yells at everybody.
right? And then you
so-
have everybody yelling in the background at the end, "Get in the ring!" Come on, that's such a
Weighing in at
Oh,
600
yeah.
pounds.
It's
guns
so bad.
and
But it's so.
roses.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's
Bad.
so showmanship. There's so much behind it, and I think that part of the reason. So it didn't actually make my list. It made my what did I call them? Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions,
Okay,
okay.
but I think it does tie into songs like Coma,
Yeah.
where they're very theatrical. And I think that a big part of that is because of the influence that I think Alice Cooper had on this album.
Yeah.
Not only because,
He appears.
he was in the
He
album,
appears, yeah.
but also songs like Coma and Get in the Ring were so theatrical, and especially Coma.
Yeah.
That one was also on my list. Yeah.
Could you read through your list one more time?
Okay, so we start with Don't Damn Me, You Could Be Mine, Yesterday's, Bad Obsession, and then side 1 ends with Dust and Bones. Side 2 goes with Breakdown, Pretty Tied Up, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Civil War, and then November Rain.
Okay. Yep. Solid list. I would listen to that album.
It is the definitive.
Questionable choices, but I would still listen to it and enjoy it.
The viewers, when they watch this, they will rank mine as the first. You should put a poll on this.
There will be.
Oh,
There will be
good,
a
good.
poll.
The
Tell
best
people in
li-
the comments whose list makes the
I
cut.
like it.
John, right here.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
here. I'm very confident in this list.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Mike,
All right.
take us through it.
I did not do it by album or ranking, so I kind of have them just the 11 songs
Okay.
that I think should be in an album.
Oh, so you cheated.
I cheated a
That's
little bit.
okay.
All right. I'm going to start with the honorable mentions. This one is on my list only because I love Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Like, I think The Garden is not a great song on the album. I don't think it's like top tier, but I do think that the two of them together, I think the song works.
I want to like that album.
I really
That
want to
song,
like that
sorry.
song.
I want to
Yeah.
like that song.
And the fact that Alice Cooper appears on it, it had to be an honorable mention for me. One song that I think is very indicative of one of their heroes' influences, 14 Years, sounds very much like a Stones song to me. It's got a lot of like Stonesy kind of influence, so that was an honorable mention for me. And then Locomotive. Locomotive was kind of up there for my honorable mentions. Didn't quite make the top 11, but it was one of the ones that I considered heavily. And then I had to take off. Okay, so for the actual definitive list. I started with the ones that I thought would be on most people's lists. So I have You Could Be Mine.
Classic.
Yep.
Necessary.
Yep.
Yep.
November Rain. Again, another one that I thought would be on everyone's list. Civil War. And then Don't Cry. I thought those ones are like, you know, for me, top 4 in terms of like Guns N' Roses on these Use Your Illusions is what I'm calling this album.
Yeah.
Okay. So I marked those ones. And then I have Coma. I thought that one was a great song.
But it's
I
not.
think it's
No,
it's
that's a
such
great
It is
song.
not
That's
a great song.
It's so theatrical. It's so long. It's
No, it's because it's too long. It's just it
no.
doesn't.
And then in the middle you have the sirens and you
Yeah,
have
and
the
then someone dies.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
and then there's a Pink Floyd thing, random sounds that pop up.
Yeah.
If they condense that song down to 3 minutes, it'd be flawless. Other than that, it's too long. No, it makes my bottom of the barrel list.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I just whenever I listen to
See-
it, I want to like it, but it just goes on. It puts me in a coma.
See,
Literally, when I listen to it.
I don't mind how long it is, but I also agree that maybe if it was shorter, it would be a better song.
Yeah,
Okay.
it should not make anybody's list.
It's on my list.
People are gonna kill me in the comments for that one.
I think it's a great song.
John's an idiot over there.
Yeah, I should be marking down which ones I've said. So I went with what I go with. Civil War, You Could Be Mine, November Rain, and Don't Cry, and then Coma. Definitely up there. And then I also put on the list Bad Obsession.
Yeah, of course.
Bad Obsession is on my list. I mean, it's so honky-tonky. It's so Aerosmith. I don't think honky-tonky is the actual honky-tonk.
Honky-tonk?
But it's so Aerosmith
Boogie
for me. Boogie Woogie. I don't know. I love it. I love the harmonica in it.
Yeah,
I just
so good.
from start to finish. I love it. Okay,
I'm feeling
and
left
then,
out on this song now because like all I could hear is the harmonica, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really great.
It's so good. It's so
it's
good.
really good.
Excellent. It's excellent. Yesterday's,
Yeah.
also on my list. Pretty Tied Up, also on my list. And then I had You Ain't the First on my list as well.
Really.
Absolutely. It's bluesy. It's great. I think it kind of takes you on a bit of a turn. I like that song. It's
I
on
don't
my
know
list.
how, but
Feels like a Stones demo to
Kind
me,
of.
and that was close to being on my list as
Yeah?
well. Yeah.
Made my list.
didn't even come close to mine. Didn't even sniff the list. I listened to it and I was like, no.
Okay. And then to round it off, because like I said, I went with 11, I got Knocking on Heaven's Door,
No.
and then I've got Get in the Ring.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I thought that one was a great song. I probably wouldn't end the album on it,
No.
but I mean, I still thought it was
Now-
very entertaining
Yeah.
for a song.
Now, I didn't put any of the covers on my list, but I think we're on the same opinion that we would take Knocking on Heaven's Door over Live and Let Die.
I think
Oh,
so.
100%.
It was pretty close
Okay.
for me, but yeah.
Same. Okay. Cool.
I do think Live and Let Die, their cover of it is
It's
pretty
good.
decent.
Yeah, it's
pretty
good.
decent.
It's good.
I just don't know if it would make the Use Your Illusions album
Okay.
for me.
Could you just read through the list one more time so we just have it in a...
Yes. Okay.
One Go.
So One Go, Don't Cry, Bad Obsession, You Ain't the First, Coma, Civil War, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Yesterdays, Get in the Ring, Pretty Tied Up, You Could Be Mine, November Rain. In no particular order. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, another. I would listen to that one too. Okay, full disclosure, I struggled with this a lot.
Yeah.
There is no November Rain on my album.
How?
Really?
I don't listen to Guns N' Roses for ballads. I don't put on like I think it's an
Wow,
exceptional.
my goodness.
I knew this was a hot take. I think it's exceptional. I think it's a fantastically written song, and it's in my honorable mentions just because of the effort that they put into it. Because like they killed themselves writing that song. Like Axl Rose invited a camera crew to film his wedding and then stage things like the cake and the rain.
Oh, how could it's like one of the greatest music videos
so
ever.
the music video is fantastic. Absolutely.
Solo in the
Slash in the,
just
in the
random people in the
desert?
church, there's a helicopter flying over him. Like, how could you not?
I love it. But that's not what I want from Guns N' Roses typically.
Okay.
So I like made the very hard decision, and you know what? I was driving home from the gym this morning,
Hopefully
and
you
I
weren't
was like,
drinking when you made that decision. Jesus. Oh my
I was
God.
driving home this morning from the gym, and I like had that song on, and I was like,
So you made a last minute
am
switch too, eh?
No, it wasn't a last minute switch, but like I was listening to it like just in case I wanted to
Yeah.
put it on. And like legit, I was like, "Am I a bad person for keeping
Yes.
this off?" My
Yes, you
list?
are. Yes, you are.
I don't disagree. So,
Yeah, I did not.
Wow,
It's not
okay.
on here. It was very close, but it's not on here.
Okay.
I also, like John, organized this like thinking vinyl sides.
Fair enough. Okay.
So I opened it similar to John with Perfect Crime. The idea that similar in style,
Yeah.
not the song. The same thing that you said about Don't Damn Me. It's like just this quick and dirty punk song. That's to me Perfect Crime. And I think Perfect Crime is a way better version of Don't Damn Me.
No, it's not.
Absolutely
It's
is.
definitely not. It is definitely not.
And like that song is like a quick 1-2 punch to open the album.
That's okay. You're both wrong. That's
Yeah.
Then right there, right after that, right next door to Hell. Because again, I think that's a better version of
No, it's
Don't
not.
Damn Me. I don't think it's a good
Wow,
opening
I think
song.
I know where this list is going. This is different.
I don't
Okay.
think it's a good opening song that they originally did. I think like the bass and the drums, and I don't like that bass tone that Duff is using. That super echoey. I never liked that bass tone. I think it's a weird way to start the record, but it's a great second song. Afterwards, Pretty Tied Up. Get a quick 1-2-3 punch knockout, but like the third one kind of dies down in terms of intensity and energy. And I think the song is just so cool. And
It is.
Then
Oh,
I mean,
the
like
sitar opening.
yeah, the sitar and like taking from what you're saying about Izzy walking in on some dominatrix thing, and then like Axl using that only for the first verse, and then like taking the whole song to like this whole thematic thing of like nothing is what it seems, and this is like now in his career he is pretty tied up in this position that just is not what he expected to be.
Yeah, I
Like
like
it's such a brilliant way of turning something that could have been like a very typical Appetite song.
Yeah.
And then from there, one more burst of energy, Back Off Bitch.
That was pretty close for me too.
Yeah, that's
I like that song.
it wasn't on either of your lists.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
No,
so
you know what?
aggressive.
Actually, it didn't even make my honorable mentions,
Yeah.
but I do like that
It's
song.
just so aggressive. I don't know. But now that I'm hearing your list, like
It made my mid.
part of me wants to put Bad Obsession there, but I'm going to stick with my list. I'd say Back Off Bitch. And then exactly the same as yours, Dust and Bones.
Yeah,
I think
great
that's like
song.
the perfect way to end side one.
Yeah.
Like that ending, the talk box melody that's following Axl's vocals. It's
Yeah.
so sleazy. It's so stonesy. It's so dark, but it's not heavy. It's like I would say top 3 songs off these albums.
Really?
Dust and Bones,
Okay.
absolutely. One of Izzy Stradlin's greatest contributions to
Yeah.
music ever. Side 2, You Could Be Mine. I think
Yep.
that opening, like, I don't think that would be a great song to open an album with. I think the intro is too long, but to open the second side, right? That drum intro, then the bass coming in, that weaving guitar that kind of swells into the riff, fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to talk too much about that song though, because like,
Yeah. All agreed.
Classic.
no, we all agree, we all love it, everyone loves it. It's a great song. And then from there, Civil War, because again, another great song,
Yeah.
but like kind of toned down the second side a bit. And then I put the last 3 songs almost as like, I called them the trilogy of illusion or disillusion.
Oh, you really went deep with this, eh?
This was actually on my. This
is
is
the host.
This
man.
is you know what? Again, this was at the gym this morning, like listening to the words, and I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't piece this together. Locomotive, Estranged, and Coma. And to me, Locomotive has to be followed by Estranged. Like I know that on the album they're actually in the reverse order, and there's a couple songs in between, but to me, Locomotive sets up the themes for Estranged. Just the idea that. You know, he's got the lyrics somewhere in there. I wrote this down somewhere. Apparently not here. Bought myself an illusion, and then later on, these illusions that pump the blood to the heart of the biz. Like the whole idea that like Guns N' Roses is the biggest band in the world, and yet still Axl Rose feels like a pawn within like this industry. Okay. And then Estranged kind of comes in with the emotional follow-up of that, of again, like he's just not in this place where he thought he'd be, where he wanted to be. And it's the fame, the wealth, the money, everything is not what he wanted.
That one was close for me. I gotta say, I love that song.
Oh, the guitar, that I don't want to call it a riff, but that melody is so fantastic.
Oh, it's
and
great.
The second half of it is, they do what like Derek and the Dominoes did with Layla. With that sort of second half, but like to me, Layla comes on and that second half starts, and I skip it because I don't like it. Oh yeah.
Well, see, I like that second half, but
they
felt
did
the same way.
They do exactly that, but better, because like the second half feels so important to the first. And on the note of ambition, Locomotive kind of ends with that really weird outro. And if it didn't fade out, that would have actually been my closing song, because I thought that outro was so unique and so just different. But they do a fade out, and I think that's a weak way to end an album. So I ended with Coma because it's a great song.
Totally agree.
It's a great
Totally
song,
agree.
and I think it's a really
song.
climactic way to end the record. But I think following those two, again, it's kind of Axl being like, I'm not existing in the real world. And like it's like this metaphorical, like, what is real? My life isn't real. This is such a weird thing, and like everything is an illusion. And everything is disillusioned because like this is not real existing.
I agree. I think it's a great song.
Yeah.
You went deep there, Jared. You went deep. But you got to imagine, like, what's it like to be that big, to be that huge? Like,
I mean, I've imagined it, but
yeah, I know, but like just to like actually experience it.
yeah, I don't know. I think
it would
it's a different world.
So to cap off my list,
Yes.
just one soundbite: Perfect Crime, Right Next Door to Hell, Pretty Tied Up, Back Off Bitch, Dust and Bones. Side 2, You Could Be Mine, Civil War, Locomotive, Estranged, and Coma.
Okay.
Honorable mentions, I should say honorable mentions, November Rain. It was very hard to keep it off the album, but it's not what I looked for in Guns N' Roses. Like, I love the song.
Hence why your list will finish third.
Probably. You know what? That is probably it. Like, someone's going to be like, that's a great list, except
Yeah.
this, like, opus of a song is not there. I don't know. It's just like, I never skip it. It's not
That's fair.
what I look for. Double Talking Jive. I think
Honorable mention.
I think
Great
that
easy
song,
song.
I think the song like just needed production, because like it's like one verse, one chorus.
And then a solo.
The chorus is awesome. The solo at the end and the flamenco guitar that comes in afterwards is really cool, but I think the song as a whole is very weak. It's a weird, like, I want to love this song, but the song itself.
See, until like honestly, other than the flamenco guitar, for me, it's a little bit of a forgettable song.
It kind of is, exactly, right? And then there's like this cool solo, and then it fades out to the flamenco, and like you want more of that. Like that should have been the song. Knocking on Heaven's Door was an honorable mention again. And originally I didn't have Right Next Door to Hell on here. I had Dead Horse on the
Great song.
Really?
and then I
yeah.
made a last minute switch, and so Dead Horse is a honorable mention again.
Also
just
very
kind of that Stonesy Izzy Stradlin vibe. Like he does so well with like these jangly, chordy songs that feel super 71, 72 kind of Keith Richards, and like lyrically are just so desperate
Yeah.
and weird and lonesome, and I think Dead Horse is just a cool song for that.
When we were I don't know, pre-production before we started recording, you said there was a song that you were hoping would be on our lists, but you didn't put it on
Coma,
yours.
because I
Coma?
cannot stand that song.
Yeah.
Because like when I think about like the long epic songs, okay, that one, I think I said, I feel like it just doesn't go anywhere. It just like
Goes so many
where?
places.
So many
No, it doesn't.
places.
Oh, it's
All the
so
places.
theatrical.
it is,
I
but
love
it's just I'm like,
I love it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or same thing, I don't like Locomotive because it just keeps
You know
going.
what?
And
Locomotive could be shorter.
it's
That-
just like yeah, cool, great guitar riff solo, great guitar riff solo, great guitar riff solo, great guitar riff solo, and then it's done, and I'm just like, again, it reminds
What
me.
happened to me? I was hit by a train.
Yeah, same thing. It's like when you get stuck behind the PN rail train that you're just like. That's to me Locomotive. What it feels like. The reason I put it straight, I do love the two songs, but again, it feels like they're just put two songs together. I guess you see it more deeply,
fair.
and that's why I love November Rain. It consistently builds to something. It's like their version of Stairway to Heaven, in a sense of just like you got the cool little piano at the beginning, then the guitar parts, and you get like solo 1, bring it down, solo 2, and then Slash just walks on a piano in the music video. Like, how cool is he there?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
Look,
like,
I recognize that a lot of sacrifice went into filming a music video on his wedding day to Stephanie Seymour.
did they film?
I don't know.
Did they film the funeral beforehand or afterhand?
I have no
it's just
idea.
like-
I have no idea. But I recognize a lot of work went into that, and she put up with a lot. Like, you want to bring in
Wait,
this
is-
crew on our actual wedding?
Is she the girl he wrote "Sweet Child of Mine" for? Is this the next girl?
I have
no
absolutely
idea.
We should investigate that.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I appreciate the effort that goes into that song, and I do love it.
Yeah. I also appreciate the megalomania that needs to go into that song. Be like, baby, we're gonna get married, and I'm shooting a kick-ass music video.
Yeah.
Like-
Which is so Axl Rose, but also is so the lyrics of this album are so introspective.
Yeah.
And you would not picture that was the same person, right? The guy that is questioning whether if this is a normal way to live life, if this is an okay way to live life, and the guy that feels like he's having a constant out of body experience because this is not how people live.
Yeah.
And he's questioning whether if this is even all he's wanted in his life was the thought of it was better than what it actually is. That is not the same guy who says, let's film a music video at my actual wedding.
That is the guy who sings "Back Off, Bitch."
Yeah, there's a weird juxtaposition. I think that's what makes Axl Rose so. We're very quick to, as a greater whole, kind of deride him as he's just a rock singer who, did his thing in the '80s and whatever. But this album is so deep, and I'd never really appreciated how deep lyrically and thematically the albums were until doing this revisit. So I think I've walked away with this liking the album more than I went into it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's still an overlooked and underappreciated album. It was actually the first Guns N' Roses album I ever heard.
Yeah?
Yeah, was
Really?
Use Your Illusion 1. Yeah, when I was in high school, one of my friends, we were trying to make a band, and he was a huge Guns N' Roses fan, and this was the first album that I heard before I heard Appetite.
Really?
Yeah.
The first one I heard was the greatest hits that came out in the 2000s, the silver case with the guns and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was the first one I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That had a lot of Appetite on it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically,
Basically
I heard
Appetite.
Appetite and
And
I was
then
like,
they
oh,
threw in,
yeah,
November
that's why
Rain
these are the
and-
greatest hits, this album.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like we said, you can't be normal and write a record like this. You can't have a normal childhood. You can't have normal experiences. You can't live in suburbia and write "Use Your Illusion."
Yeah.
No, I mean, everything you said prior to his relationship with his mom and obviously hating women, and there's a line in there somewhere about incest. There's a lot on this record that's just what? Right?
I mean, sad but true, but I think you look at a lot of artists, whether they're musicians or, movie stars or anything. I think there's a lot of pain that goes into being that kind of person and that kind of personality.
Yeah.
But it's great art. I mean,
Yeah.
for us. So
Oh, I know. Yeah.
suffering.
Spectator sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Suffering breeds creation.
Well, I can't remember. It was one of their managers. I can't remember. I think it was the manager after they fired Alan Niven was like, "My greatest contribution was that nobody died when I was their manager. That was basically what he said. He's like, because he's like, people like they should have been dead. So many
pretty
Slash
sure-
did die.
Yeah.
Literally, and they got resuscitated.
Yeah.
I think Tom Zutaut said something very similar
About
about
Motley
Motley
Crue,
Crue, right?
Yeah.
He was just like, we're going to send them on the road, we're going to drug them up, and
Like,
hopefully they all come back.
on paper,
and
that
just the same,
sounds-
Nikki Sixx, he died at one point.
On paper, that sounds like such a bare minimum, but like knowing what they did and the excess that these bands live to, like that was a huge deal.
Oh yeah, like with Nikki Sixx or whatever. He's like, yeah. Then I got resuscitated. Went right home and I took the biggest hit of cocaine in my life or something, or heroin. I'm just like, but how? Again, you can't be normal when people are like throwing themselves at you, and just like the amount of drugs and money
And as sad as it might be, there's a level of authenticity to that though, because you can't be, straight edge and write Appetite for Destruction or Use Your Illusion.
No, and even if you wrote it, I think it wouldn't be as captivating to watch.
No.
Like you look at videos of Guns N' Roses from '87 and onward, and even if you don't like the songs, you're like, those guys are really fucking cool. Like there is nothing that they, you know what I mean? Like they're so intertwined with that lifestyle that they're singing, and like you see that, like you feel that.
Yeah, Slash is like effortlessly cool.
Yeah,
he's got to be the coolest guitar player.
I'd put Keith Richards.
I mean, Jimmy Page.
But yeah, and it's just, but it's true. But it's true. Like they're effortlessly cool, and just again, they seem like I remember Izzy, like he was hard onto drugs or whatever, and then he said he saw something and just went straight edge after that. Like what he saw so messed him up that he was like, I haven't touched drugs or alcohol or something since.
Yeah, you got to hit that like rock bottom, I suppose.
I don't know what it was, but it's just like I want to know what he saw or what happened. But again, it adds to the authenticity of the album. They lived it. And even again, I think in the A&E biography is what made them different. One guy was saying they lived it. This was their life. Like they were eating, or again, someone was saying like they were surviving on Denny's like 99-cent like biscuits or whatever before they became famous, because they just had no money. Like,
and you know what? I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going.
I think like part of the reason that happened too was MTV and music videos and biographies like this, because you look at bands like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or Led Zeppelin, who probably did something similar, but it was never as high profile. You know what I mean? And Guns N' Roses, I feel like if you are having to live up to that image of being Guns N' Roses, and then they're putting it on TV and they're putting it in interviews and things, and you have to top yourself, and you just have to keep topping yourself. Whereas 60s, 70s, obviously didn't work out for everybody, but they didn't have to top what they were doing because it was never talked about except for within their circle. Yeah. And in the 80s, I mean, with all of these hair metal bands and hard rock bands, it was very much up in the forefront and building the level of authenticity.
Yeah, but it's...
So...
Yeah, even in Duff's autobiography or whatever, he's like, yeah, I don't remember some cities. Like all of a sudden he just comes back and he's got like he's like, when the hell were we in Czechoslovakia or whatever? He's got like it's tagged on his thing, and he's like, I don't remember that show. Or Matt Sorum just saying like, all I hear was like, boom, when he's like, well, Duff just passed out on stage. Like imagine going to a show and the bassist just falls asleep, well, passes out. Like it's, again, people saying like there's Tupperwares full of cocaine. It's just like,
and you know what?
Yeah, we all like in some way idolize that life. I don't know if I'd actually want to live it.
No.
Like,
but I bet you people who were at that show remember Duff passing out on stage and remember, Nikki Sixx taking the bottle of Jack and just going up and down with it. And like, they just remember those things because it's who the bands were. Yeah. It's part of the allure. It's part of the music.
Again, to the authentic, like I remember I was doing, I won't get into the whole thing, but I was teaching, but we ended up like talking about how music is so safe these days. And one of the songs we did, because we were listening, it was talking about Teenage Rebellion. We did Killing in the Name from Rage Against the Machine. And they were like, well, why is it like, there's like the song's so angry. And we got to the point, it was like, could you ever imagine like Justin Bieber being like, baby, fuck you, I won't do what you tell. Like, you could never imagine that sort of like anger, because everything is so safe these days. I think, again, that's why we remember it like 35 years on, and people will keep remembering it because there is that level of for good and bad. Like again, there's garbage songs on, whether you agree with me or not. There's bad songs, but that's why we remember it. Yeah. Because you just put it's like a Jackson Pollock painting. Let's just throw whatever's on there. Whatever sticks, and you're gonna get those highs of November Rain, even though some people don't think that, or Sweet Child of Mine, and that's the legacy they leave. Yeah. Because of just how crazy their lives were.
We've talked a lot about the record, what it means to us, our favorite songs, are what we think would be the best version. John is very confident it's his.
The viewers in the comments will.
He's wrong.
Yes. Will verify my.
If we looked at the albums as is, not our list, but Use Your Illusion 1, Use Your Illusion 2, which would you say is the better of the two?
2. There's no debate. 2 is better. You would say 1?
See, I think the filler on 2.
Is it cheating just to
I think
look and double check?
4 has
This
so
is my
or 2
question,
has so many good
and-
ones. Like it starts with Civil War. You've got Yesterdays. You've got 14 Years. You've got
Pretty tied.
See,
Strange.
I think
You know what?
you know
It
what,
could be
my
one
list
over.
actually has more songs from 2 than it does
so
1.
does mine.
But I think 1 is the better album. I think the filler songs on 2 are lesser than the filler songs on 1.
True. Get in the Ring is very bad. I don't know why.
That being said, I think the great songs on 2 are better than the great songs on 1, if that makes sense.
It's got a higher ceiling but lower
I think
floor.
I think it has a higher ceiling, but I think I would rather go for a lower ceiling with a higher floor. So I think I'd pick 1 over 2.
Less square footage. Good idea.
And I think I would go with 2 as well. You also get the bonus of Don't Cry, even though it's the second version.
Yeah.
Like I think I
And
would go with
My
2 as
World, of
well.
course.
I mean,
How did that not make anyone's list? Right
you know
there?
what? I think it's a spectacularly unique way to end an album.
Yeah, just a guy ranting
Yeah.
into a microphone.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like, I don't know. I don't
Again,
know
how is that the same
made
guy
it on
that's-
an album? I have no idea.
How is that the same guy that's talking about disillusion of hope and dreams versus reality? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think something worth talking about is that Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 come out on September 17th, 1991, 1 week before the incredible September 24th, 1991, which has Blood Sugar Sex Magic from the Chili Peppers, Nirvana's Nevermind. Like, that is the day that everyone says, like, alternative music flips, right? And bands like Guns N' Roses suddenly, like, you know, you see it in the dirt when John Corabi joins Motley Crue and they're playing to empty arenas. You see this huge flip where this oversaturated style of music is less popular. It's on the decline. And this, like, almost the antithesis to it, this more punk-based music is on the ascent. With that context in mind, how do we think Use Your Illusion kind of fits into that? Is that almost like the fitting end of an era, or one last great statement for the 80s?
I like the way I look at it is like, on the one hand, it's like you're right, like the sort of grunge like definitely takes over afterwards, but the Use Your Illusions tour is, again, correct me if I'm wrong, was the largest world tour in history.
Was it really?
I don't know about history, but it was up there.
Oh yeah, or for the time, up to the time. I think
Okay,
there's been more than like.
Taylor Swift's on tour right now.
No, but I mean, like, yeah, but I mean, like, at the time, it was the biggest tour. It was like 2.5 years. They went around the world like 7 times or something. And I think even if you look at it right now, I mean, or like, what of those, like, obviously you just saw the Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Like, I would assume Guns N' Roses could command bigger stadiums than the Chili Peppers, than Soundgarden.
Probably in
and-
1991.
No, but even now,
1991,
like,
yeah.
I think their legacy is
I don't
still-
know. I saw the Chili Peppers play the same venue like 2 years ago that Guns N' Roses also played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know as much, but I mean, like, Guns N' Roses seem to be more, compared to all of those bands, seem to be more relevant now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or
And
a
I
bigger
mean,
draw.
yeah, this is probably not necessarily a hot take, but I was not a huge, and still am not a huge, like, grunge fan. And I think that there's a more... I think that music like the Guns N' Roses music and, like, glam metal and hair metal reached almost like a wider audience at the time. And I think that it's continued to now, too. And, I mean, grunge is also obviously huge. But I think you'd probably be right. I think that they would probably command a bigger stadium than
Totally
the
fair,
Red Hot
yeah.
Chili Peppers would, in my opinion.
I think what's super interesting, and you mentioned Soundgarden, on the Use Your Illusion tour, Soundgarden was one of the primary openers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for I don't know about the whole thing, but for a large part of that tour.
Probably like a North American leg or something.
Probably
like
something
that.
like
yeah.
that, which I also thought was super interesting. But like this whole divide between the 80s and the 90s, right? Like it was, I think this also speaks to what we were saying earlier. Like Guns N' Roses really was separate from that hair metal scene.
Yeah.
And aside from Axl's beef with Kurt Cobain, they, you know, like I think they were fans of that stuff. And
Separate, but I don't think that they would like fit in with that genre.
no,
Like I don't think that they would be ever confused.
No,
with,
but you know
like,
what?
a
I think
grunge
also
style.
like with the lyrics on this album, like this is not a like if we take the lyrics out of the record itself, we take away the very 80s blockbuster production. Lyrically, this album doesn't feel like a hair metal band.
Oh no.
And
no,
I think
no.
I think
yeah, you're right.
lyrically, like the whole struggle of fame and accepting it, and Axl's like reality versus his hopes and dreams, I think that fits a lot more with the '90s aesthetic.
You're probably right.
Nutshell from Alice in Chains is very much lyrically, like not the same words, but thematically, like it could be swapped out for a song on here, and it would fit.
Possibly.
Like,
Could
yeah.
even fit in The Wall. The whole journey of a guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I can't remember what the main character's name is, but yeah, someone who's just
Pink.
disillusioned puts Pink puts
Pink.
a wall around himself, and you know,
The lead singer of the band.
I can't remember. I just remember watching that movie. Like, that is horribly depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know, I also think though Axl had a little bit more of an ego than a lot of the
Yeah.
grunge singers and
Yeah.
lyricists did. So I mean, yes,
I think that's that
I
complexity
agree,
that he
but
has to him, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, you got to have kind of an ego to take 14 years to write Chinese Democracy?
Yeah.
Something like that. Something like
release it.
that.
I know. That was, that was a great episode. Great episode.
I had fun doing the research for that
Yeah.
one. That story is astounding.
Because I remember I had it going. I was working out in my garage, and I just had it listening. And I just stopped my work. I was like, "This is so interesting." But anyways, yeah, keep rolling.
Yeah,
Side story.
no, it's good. It's good. To me, this is like the last like big blockbuster album. Like the fact that it's 2 albums released on the same day, I think makes it bigger in some way than if it was just one double album
Oh,
You
yeah.
mean last ever or for them?
of its time.
Of
Not-
its time,
Yeah, like
okay.
of its
Or
time.
even maybe rock. Has there been another like grandiose rock record since that has reached that height? Because I know rock's been on the decline since.
I mean,
like,
you
the
could
beginning
say
of the
you could
90s.
say like Nevermind, I guess.
No, okay, but outside of
But,
that,
like,
like
That's
general,
not. Yeah.
like outside of that general time period.
No,
Like,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you have like big albums like American Idiot or something, but it's just like
that might be a close competitor to
yeah,
that.
but it's like what other rock record has reached that heights since 1991? When you have
I think
like
that some of the Foo Fighters albums could compete.
Okay.
I think that they had some big stuff. And then, I mean, if you watch the Netflix documentary, Nickelback had some big albums that reached big heights too. Now, whether
Is
they
the
were
documentary
as
good?
popular,
I haven't watched it yet.
I've watched bits and pieces, but in the documentary, they claim that they were the third. I think it was the third. Don't quote me on this, Nickelback. I'm sorry, but like third best-selling rock band of all time.
really.
So, I mean, you know, whether it's radio popularity, they're probably up there. In Canada, we've got like a totally different scene too. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some bands in Canada that
Are
hit some
huge
peaks
here,
and-
and then they play small theaters in the States. Absolutely.
But you're probably right. Yeah, Use Your Illusion's probably up there.
Are there any final thoughts we have on the legacy of this album? Like looking back on it, I know for me, like coming back to this record, like I said, I ended up enjoying it more, like analytically looking at it, and than I did going into it. It's a record that normally I skip a lot of the songs and like listening to it all. Like I mean, there's still songs on there that I will definitely forever skip. But there's a lot more appreciation, I think, for the effort, for the risk taking, for like the results that they got. Any other final thoughts we have?
I appreciated going back because, like I said, it was the first Guns N' Roses album I ever heard was Use Your Illusion 1. And it's been a long time since I've listened to it front to back. And it was fun doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me again, I'll go back to the risk taking because, again, like especially on like Spotify and all the algorithms, it's almost like listening to like radio on steroids. I hear the same songs over and over again, especially that I have like 2 kids. I'm just like, and just going through this over the last couple of weeks to prepare to not sound like an idiot. It was refreshing to hear different stuff, and I was just like, okay, this is so much better than I gave it credit for, and just like it was nice to hear the variety, and it almost made me like sad in a way that music isn't like this anymore. Imagine growing up in that time period where it was like, I remember like Mike Delaney said he went to see Guns N' Roses and Metallica co-headlining. Like,
That's
come on,
crazy.
the Black Album and Use Your Illusions at the same time.
Especially because
And you got like,
if he went to see them here or it was Montreal or something, like that's like days away from when that tour just stops because James Hetfield gets lit on fire, right? Like,
yeah. Or again, there's no like Billy Joe goes on a drunken rant on stage, and I used to go to therapy. I'm like, again, that was the right decision. But like, for a rock star, you don't go to therapy. You just keep going and do even more drugs.
That was a great moment.
Yeah, but it's just but that's what you were like.
That was a great moment.
Yeah, it kind of makes me sad that like we just won't get that anymore.
I think you're right. I think we won't get that like rock star persona so much, but I do think that we're in a time now where you can find so much more styles of music as opposed to maybe 10 years ago when it was harder to find it. I mean, sure, you have like the TikTok guitarists and things, but I mean, we're kind of part of it. Like there's local music too that you don't have to spend $50, $60, $150 to go see. And you get a crazy array of people. We played a show where a guy got on stage wearing a dog mask, and he just blew my mind. And, you know, it was totally different than anything I'd ever seen before. And that's kind of some of the benefit, I guess, to going to like local music shows. But with Spotify, with YouTube, with people being able to share music too, I think we have an opportunity to get different styles of music. Will we get that quintessential, drugged out and strung out rock star again? Maybe not, and maybe for everyone's sanity, that's probably good.
For their sanity.
For their sanity,
we love it, but again, we wouldn't want to.
The spectator sport suffers, but you're right. But the people do better.
That's true. That's true. Sadly, so sad. I see why you like the Garden now. Guy in a dog mask, the Garden. It makes total sense right now.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot here. I think this record is the album that proved that Guns N' Roses can be more than Appetite, right? It made them in that sense. They're more than like that one trick pony. They buried Appetite, like you were saying. I think it's the album that broke the band. I think it was so unsustainable that they just could not keep it together. Their lifestyles, the touring, the excess of the albums. Like I think if they had a break in there, or if they've released these as 2 albums a few years apart, maybe things would have changed, but for better or worse, like this is the records that we have.
I don't even think we'd get 2 albums if it was released afterwards.
I don't know.
Because I don't even know.
Could they have maintained the pace? Maybe?
Oh God, no.
I don't know.
You need a hell of a lot of cocaine to get that pace going.
Well, they were pretty broken after Appetite's tour too. I think
that's
like
fair.
even going into Use Your Illusion, I don't think that there was much left.
Yeah.
I mean, look, 2 of them didn't even contribute much to the album, anyways. So, but they kept going, and then Chinese Democracy.
Yep. Or the spaghetti incident.
Yes. Well, you know,
that one.
However you want to classify that, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't normally count that one.
No, it's it's like the In Through the Outdoor of their catalog. We just sort of forget that they wrote
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, Mike, John, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for contributing the list. Thank you for this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was, and thank you too for having us. This is great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, man.
Follow Beats by Ger on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, Spotify and YouTube. You will never miss an upcoming episode. Hopefully, we are back doing this again in Technicolor. Can I make a joke twice? I don't know.
Yes, you can.
Who came up with the ultimate Use Your Illusion album? Let me know in the comments. Was it John, Mike, or myself? Let us know. If you think you have a better list and you have the audacity to share it, tell us. I'm Jared Harris, and this is Beats by Ger.